Welcome back to the Kempire Daily YouTube channel, where you get daily and consistent hot topics in music, entertainment, reality TV, and more. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out when there's breaking news, when we go live, or when we upload. Today, I had to talk about the latest episode of Real Housewives of New York. As you know, I know, it's been a dry season. We also have to remember and give them some leeway. It was filmed during a pandemic. But I also feel like the casting is off. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Earlier today, I did a live recap with my boy Up and Adam. I'll post a link in the description of this video. I stop by there all the time, so be sure to check that out. But, you know, here on the channel, we also recap it as well. So I had some thoughts. So, you know, the episode opens with the ladies going to Harlem Nights with Eboni K. Williams. She really loves her name. And as she should. But Eboni, I need you to be a better host. I like Eboni, and I've said this before, when they were in the Hamptons and they had the pageant, and Eboni said she was going to do her spoken word, I was open to it. Even if she was going to do spoken word and it was talking about Black Lives Matter, I was like, yes, okay, let me see. But no, it just came across like a speech. I know spoken word is spoken, but there's also a flow, there's a vibe. It didn't have that. And Eboni's coming across very preachy. I don't mind it. We have to remember when this was filmed. And I know there are a variety of Black people. If they were, active before, they were even more active during the pandemic. If they weren't active before, they became active. They decided to run for office. They decided, I'm going to go out and protest. They decided, like, you know what? I'm going to give to every Black organization I can during this time. So we have to remember that. And I understand where people are coming from when they're saying she's coming across too preachy. And I know there are a lot of fans of the Real Housewives of New York, Black or otherwise, or white or otherwise, that watch the show and they're like, oh, I know it's uncomfortable for you to watch, but we lived in a time, and we've lived in a time in a country where it was uncomfortable to be Black. It's still uncomfortable. And a lot of people are not shutting up. I know I went to a majority white high school where I wasn't able to talk about the things that we can so freely, because now we are allowed to talk about those things. So I don't blame Eboni for doing it. And is that her mission? I love the fact that she's even willing to have the conversation, because I know, like myself and some other people, I'm not here to teach you. There's Google. Go learn that it's CJ Walker and not EJ Walker. And it really should be Madam CJ Walker. But apparently, Ramona is Googling. So we'll get to Ramona in a second. So this big party in Harlem, she's gotten the ladies to go to Harlem. And look, even New Yorkers treat other parts of New York like it's another state. I grew up, born and raised in Staten Island, which is one of the 5 boroughs. So it is part of New York City. There are people that come here or say, when I say, where I grew up, they'll be like, oh, I've never been there, or I've been there once, or Staten Island. It's a ferry ride away, y'all. A free ferry ride away. Anyways, I'm digressing. But I just wanted to point out, I'm not going to be that hard on these Upper East Side ladies for feeling like, oh my God, we're going to Harlem, but we're cool. I get it, because if they were going to Staten Island, they would probably be the same way, if not worse. They probably wouldn't even go. They would need car service, as our girl Sonia said. She needs car service just to go downtown. Can you imagine going to Staten Island? You remember early seasons, they didn't want to even go to Brooklyn. It is what it is. I don't even blame them. But I feel like Eboni could have gotten her point across by bringing them to this Black-owned restaurant, which I loved. I think it could have been done in a creative and fun way. And they were like, oh my God, I learned something. Instead of sitting them down to have dinner. First of all, y'all know how I am about my food. I'm very much like Candy from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. It better be good food. But pushing, history, and I'm a history buff. I love history. But the way she did it just came across pushy. It came across pushy and preachy. And I get it. She wants them to learn because she knows that don't know any of this stuff. But the fact that she was reading it to them instead of maybe on their cue card, some facts, I think that would have been nice because then they would have taken that cue card with them. And I'm not sure if they had that information on their the cards that were on their table, but I think that would have been another way. Maybe on the ride home, like, oh, this is who this was. I just felt like she could have done it in such a more creative way instead of just preaching to them about it. But I love the fact that while they were talking, Eboni makes sure she eats and she drinks. I love it. I love it. We also get to meet Bershan, as I lovingly call her, because her name is Bershan Shaw. I call her Bershaw. The fact that I gave her a nickname is Cloud. I'm just saying. But I actually kind of like Bershan, but I need her to elaborate on what she was getting at the table. I don't feel like they gave her another opportunity, and I'm not sure if they just cut stuff out of what she said, but I want to understand where she was coming from. Was she saying all lives matter? Was she saying that we're all equal, that we're all American? And this is a reminder, just because she's Black doesn't mean that all Black people think the same. We're not a monolith, because we don't. But, girl, I'm watching Bershan. And Bershan, if you want to come on the platform, come on, girl, because I would love to speak with her. Because every interview I've seen with Bershan, I'm like, I like her. I like her vibe. She seems like she's fun. If anything, she seems more fun than Eboni. And when I say more fun, I mean just her energy just seems a little bit like, oh, yes, let's do this. But at the same time, I didn't expect that whole, we're all American. Yes, we're all American, girl, but we're not all treated equally. And maybe she said that, or maybe she didn't get to elaborate on what she meant. Because I'm still sort of like, what were you trying to say, Bershan? Also, Bershan's fashion, I saw her on Wendy Williams, and I saw her on this episode. We only got a little bit of Bershan, which I'm not happy about. But I didn't love the corset top. And when I watched her on Wendy, I didn't mind the outfit, but when she sat down, it was the way she said, I was like, but I liked her personality. I love her, the deepness in her voice. I love it. And like I said, she seems like she would be fun. The fact that she's coming through Ramona as Ramona's friend, I don't know. But when Ramona said she had vertigo, I've had vertigo before. Not even realizing it was vertigo, but it's the worst feeling in the world. It's like the world is moving and you're like, what is happening here? It's like you're going to pass out, but you don't pass out. But her having vertigo was just Ramona either A, trying to go on a date, B, she just was like bored with this dinner because she's being preached to, which I can get. But Ramona's always trying to slip out. I bet Ramona had a date, though. Ramona always has a date. We will get to Ramona in a second. I just want to cover some other areas that we haven't covered just yet. Luann talking about her drinking, which I think is important. I think Luann, used to be a casual drinker, and it turned into something else over the years, and hence got her arrested. And now she is not drinking at all. She's having, faux mocktails or whatever they call it. Mocktails, faux mocktails, really? So her having the conversation with her daughter, I thought was interesting. But at the same time, I was like, I almost completely forgot about that scene, which is not a good thing for Luann. And I don't mind Luann being on the show, but a lot of people are saying that they can see Luann being done with the show. But you know what it is? I think because of the chemistry amongst the women, I don't feel like one person carries the show. I think it's the chemistry amongst the women, like in other cities, like the Real Housewives of Atlanta. It's not just Nene that carries the show. It's not just Kenya that carries the show. It's a collective. It's the chemistry amongst these women. And because in New York, these women really know each other, it's what I've always liked. And I wouldn't mind if Dorinda came back. I would love for Dorinda to come back. But with that being said, Dorinda did need the season off. It got very dark last season. And also because, Tinsley wasn't on the season. I want to see Dorinda and Tinsley come back. Make peace with that if they can. Maybe a little drama beforehand and then make peace, because Dorinda was right, Tinsley. And I don't mind Tinsley. Tinsley didn't bring a lot, but she grew on me. But also, if you know Tinsley and you grew up in New York, you knew Tinsley was a New York socialite. So you know that Tinsley really is New York. And that's what I need on my show. And from what I hear, Bershan is not even, she moved from DC to New York. I don't know what that was about. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if that was true because I remember she was on that own show, Love in the City. Wasn't that in New York or was that in DC? I don't know. You guys will let me know in the comments, which I appreciate. But with that being said, Eboni goes to Ramona's house, and it's probably during the week after the election when we still didn't know who the president was. Keep that in mind. And Eboni brings up the conversation of we're going to have our very first female vice president, not even female, Black and South Asian vice president, female vice president. She was finding a way to connect with Ramona, and I appreciate that. You know, a lot of people would thought that scene was, oh, here Eboni goes again, being pushy with her agenda about race and da-da-da. No, she really wanted to find, everyone was talking about it. Even people, I never used to talk about politics or religion with friends and family and associates and things like that. But it became everyone became so politically active over the last 4 or 5 years because of everything that's happened. It's a natural conversation. And she thought, oh, you know, it's a female vice president. She even talked about the president. She was like a female. And Ramona was like, oh, no. Ramona was like everywhere. She even left the room. She went into her room. And this is a classic New York Ramona moment. I don't want to be educated. I mean, I like to be educated, but I don't want to be educated. Oh, Ramona. Ramona really showed her hand, though, in that scene. If we didn't know who Ramona voted for before, even though, you know, there have been signs, there have been clear signs, but here we knew. Because when she comes back and they have the conversation and they're talking about it, she's like, I have to be able to talk about these things with you, Ramona. This is a part of who I am. And this is also a part of who you are. And we need to find a common place. And I get that. And as I said before, I feel like this was a very particular moment. There's a difference between Republicans and Trumpers. And I get why for a lot of people, it's like, if you voted for that man, then you're voting against me. You're voting against my own freedoms. Do you understand what that means? So she wanted to connect with Ramona. Ramona showed her hand, though, when she was like, oh, the mail-in ballots. And we were like, that is clear who you voted for. You're talking about mail-in ballots? Oh, Ramona, look. And I already know you guys are in the comments like, Ramona can go. Ramona can go. Ramona has been trying this season. She's been trying this season. And at one point, Ramona and Eboni end up, because you know Ramona just likes to get over things. She just wants to move on. She doesn't want to get too deep. And that's probably why she has like 60 friends, because they probably don't go deep. When you start going deep with some of your friends, your friend group becomes smaller, smaller, and smaller. Trust me, I know from experience. And I much rather have 1 or 2 close-knit friends than a bunch of fake ones. And Ramona has a bunch of them, and they all look like her. Just being real. Just being real. Speaking of being real, Leah's scenes. Look, Leah wasn't as annoying as she usually is for me this episode, thankfully, because we didn't really get a lot from Leah. We do have Leah, you know, talking, you know, with her about her daughter and that process. Not interested. I know she stopped by Watch What Happens Live and answered the question about, you know, why didn't you just go home when your grandmother was dying? And she said, you know, well, part of it is, you know, she had a commitment to the show, but also, you know, it wasn't shot over a week. It was shot in 3 days. So she thought she had time. All right, Leah. Honestly, if I had to pick people that I need to come back next season, I really would like them to have actual housewives. Yes, I know Luann and Ramona and Sonia came on the show. Well, Ramona and Luann came on the show as actual housewives and eventually became divorced. I'm okay with them staying because they were housewives. They just had divorces. It's part of life. But with the casting, and I said this about bringing on Eboni, I was like, I like Eboni, but I wish she was a housewife. I actually want to see more dating with Eboni, but again, it was a pandemic, so a lot of dating really couldn't happen. But she is dating someone, so I do want Eboni to come back, but I do believe it will be her choice if she would like to come back. I don't need Leah to come back. I want to see more of Eboni's friends. We saw Natalie, Eboni's friend, but we haven't gotten a lot from Natalie. I need something from Natalie. Natalie's just a pretty face at this point. It's like, oh, there goes Natalie. Not saying a lot, not doing a lot. Okay. I actually do like Leah's sister, but if it comes down to we're only going to see Leah with, we're going to actually see Leah and her sister. Okay, Leah and her sister can go. She can go. And rumor has it that they're doing casting for the Real Housewives of New York. They're looking for maybe more friend ofs, housewives. Not sure if Bershan will be coming back. Based on this season, I'll let you know. I'm a straight shooter. As I always say, pow, 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 pow. But with that being said, we didn't get a lot of Bershan this episode. So we shall see. We know there's more to come. There's more to come. We will be watching. I will be checking it out. This episode for me was not great. It wasn't great. And I've heard what you guys have said, and I've been holding out because RHONY is my favorite of the entire franchise. But even this episode, I thought, okay, with Bershan coming, last week they were off. They're going to give us a good episode. It wasn't a good episode, y'all. It wasn't a good episode. I'm holding out, though, because RHONY is still my favorite. They just got to get this casting right. Not sure if they should have gotten rid of Dorinda this season, because at least we would have had the Berkshires. Anyways, we will be following. I'm going to stick it out. I'm already in it. I'm sticking it out. I want to see how this plays out with Eboni, her twerking, Bershan, and her fight with Sonia. I'm watching it all. And I want to see if they're going to start to have a little bit more fun. I know a lot of you are uncomfortable watching these last few episodes. Continue to be uncomfortable because we need to have these conversations. But I also hope that they add some fun, incredible, funny moments. I just have a feeling, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. But as always, I want to know your thoughts in the comments. It doesn't matter if we disagree, y'all. It's okay to have a disagreement, but be respectful. I want to know your thoughts on the season, what you would rate this season and this last episode so far of the Real Housewives of New York. And of course, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel because you're getting daily and consistent hot topics and you don't want to miss out. So hit that notification bell for when we have breaking news, when we go live, or when we upload. I'll see you guys very soon.